And we are live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York. Our scene starts us today within the Sept of the Green, most notably near the cabins where some of the packs decide to take up residence. The very specific porch, one with a nice bit of room underneath it, is where we see two members of the Sept marching their way towards said cabin, towards the said porch. Dallas, Hunter's Mania car, the Arun of the Get, born on two legs, is walking beside one of her few friends on the set, and that would be Aiden. And we start our scene as they make their approach.
Yeah, Aiden's walking with his stereotypical trademark swagger up to his pack's cabin, basically. He'll look behind her. Now he should be here, as he kind of skips up onto the porch, basically.
Dallas steps up onto the porch and kind of lets out a sigh as she cracks the side of her neck.
Just remember, Dallas, be polite. He's my beta. He'd wink at her as he's knocking on the door of the cabin, basically, to see if Alien's in.
What kind of polite are we talking about? Your polite?
Not my polite. He just shakes his head as he's opening the door. Like he's a silver fine. Remember politeness? As he's opening the door. I'm like stick his big curly head in, basically, see if Alien's there.
Yeah, the door will open and a sword fang kinfolk will kind of look at Aiden for a moment, kind of get him a little bit of a side eye, and then look over towards the couch, and you'll see Balian sitting on the couch, watching the rugby league on satellite, with a cup of tea in front of him. He'll kind of look over towards Aiden when he opens up the door and kind of starts to say something. Then he realizes someone's with him, and his mouth will abruptly close.
Someone here to meet you, Balian.
And me without my muff. Well, he'll stand up and straighten his shirt and place his cup and saucer on the table, which is quickly gathered by Silver Fangkin. He'll turn to face the two. And who's this then?
He turns and looks at Dallas, make your instructions, that type of thing.
Dallas will, give him a courteous nod. She doesn't know what his rank is yet, so she's not going to expose throat or anything of that nature just yet. But she gives him the nod and a slight smile. I am Dallas Yakar, dated as Hunter's Mane, fists of steel of the Get, born under a full moon and on two legs. She knows this. I still need reference. Give me a second. It's right here at the top. It loads so fast now. She is from, and she will add that she is from she was born on the Alphabet River Sept. A set known to be belong to the Fianna Get and Silver Fangs. It's up in Boston, or just outside of Boston.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. He'll nod. Welcome to the cabin, Callous Hunter's Mane, Jakar. My name is Balian Kraus, known as Predator's Focus to the Nation. Born under a half moon, on two legs, child of Falcon, and Beta of the Seekers. You're welcome here. as you have been brought by a trusted member of this family. Please come in. And he'll turn around and he'll look to one of the Silver Fang kin, and they'll pull out Aiden's favorite piece of equipment in the cabin, which is the buffet cart. And slide it out, and there's teacups and pots and various different foods and stuff like that. Most of it is meat, however, and the 3 cups of tea will be poured and placed in front of each one of you, and you'll have a seat and say, and what do we owe the honor of your presence today?
Well, before coming in, she would have taken off her boots. One thing that she was taught early on is if you respect someone's house, don't track mud into it. And her boots are worn and mud covered. So she leaves them out on the porch, and then she steps in. And as she sits down, she sees the buffet spread. And after being served tea and getting served some of the finer, more rare meats, as far as in how they're cooked, she simply just kind of cants her head to one side. Aiden and I have gotten to know each other over the past few weeks. I found that he and I share a great many of the same values. We had similar upbringings, I would surmise from that. And he spoke very highly of you and your alpha. And I simply knew that if someone who I find agreeable as he does speaks of you just as highly, that I should get to know you myself.
He nods and kind of makes that, that face with your lip, how you're kind of going, okay. Mm-hmm. And he'll kind of give Aiden a little bit of a side eye when here's spoke well of his beta and alpha. There's a definite amount of side eye at that comment. And
he kind of gives him like a look, like of course I'm going to speak about it.
But he doesn't say anything. He's like, very well. What is it that you would like to know?
Well, upon arriving in the Sept, I encountered one of my tribe mates, Skofgard, your worm foe. All his ashes, Raya. And he instructed me to be on the lookout for a pack. Now, I wouldn't be as presumptuous to say that I would be a good fit, but I wanted to get to know each member of the Seekers before I made a pledge to try and earn your favor.
Fair enough. There are probably things that you should know about our pack before making any decision. This is true. You've met Aiden. Have you met our Omega?
I have met 10 Point, yes. As far as mules go, she is well trained.
He nods. It's almost that appreciating the compliment type nod. And he looks to Aiden and he says, obviously you've met Aiden. And then have you met with our Alpha Banshee?
No, I have not. I have only previously, before you, met the other two.
I see. Very well. It's not my place, it is the Alpha's place to describe the inner workings of our pack. However, I can tell you more about me. I am a child of Falcon. I am of House Gleaming Eye. A house that has had extremely good relations with the Get through the years. Members of the Get have actually been accepted into our house. I have lived on the Blood Fist among the Get. I understand how the children of Fenrir think. His eyes kind of get a little haunted for a moment. You can see his mouth is a little dry. I have had friends among the Get, and more than friends. They hold a special place with me.
The Fenrir have stood beside the Silverfangs since the tribes were first convened. We have been grateful to be your allies.
The Sept of the Green is not what one would call traditional in its views.
There's a definite look of acknowledgement on Dallas's face, and it is grave.
Therefore, association with our pack will place certain social barriers in your way here. I'm not attempting to dissuade you. I'm simply being upfront as much as possible. There are those here that will immediately dislike you simply because of your affiliation, were you to become a member of our pack, or even if you were just to become a friend of this pack.
Dallas just smirks and she nods. I don't need anyone to like me as far as those that have that mindset are concerned. I just simply need to be able to work with them. I understand about social stigmas. Alona, the mule that thinks very highly of herself, knows exactly where I stand. And I'd like to think that recent events have helped bring to light just the kind of metis mutant that she really is.
He seems to kind of weigh those words in his head. Takes a sip from his tea.
Yeah, he does much the same. They'll probably do it at the same time, you know.
We'll see. It is up to the spirits to judge her as she is. A listening moon. However, those that have been cursed by their parents' weakness are not seen in the same light here as they are in the old world. This is the land of opportunity, the land of the melting pot. And there is no greater example of that than the Sept of the Green. I dare say you will find it as challenging as we have.
She will take a sip out of her tea and nod, and then she will look over towards Balian with a smile. It's a very genuine one. And she simply says, being as close as you've been to the Fenrir, I am sure that it would come no surprise to you that if I were to say, I don't shrink from a challenge, and I will welcome it. with open arms.
He smiles and kind of nods slowly. That kind of slow acknowledgement of that's exactly what I expected to hear type thing. Very well. So is it your intention to continue to speak with other members of this pack? Or
It is. I would enjoy having the opportunity to meet your alpha. The entire pack that I have met thus far speaks, I think, to her leadership. Something that my superiors back home always said, that attitudes of any given pack is always a reflection of leadership, whether it shines in a positive light or is an indictment. I can say with a great deal of certainty, your pack seems to luster, at least in the eyes of this young cat.
there is another question. You're aware that we follow a Fianna totem.
I am.
And that is fitting with your sensibilities.
If you allow me to be a bit free with how I speak about the tribe that I was born to.
He kind of gestures with an arm to tell her to go on.
She takes a sip out of the tea and then sets it down on the table. After my mother passed, and they allowed the thing that came out of her to live, I was angry. I was lost. The Fenrir offered me a way to focus my mind and not be consumed by the burning anger and hatred that I felt at that point, the kind that isn't productive, the kind that turns inward instead of outward. When I made my decision, it was done so clouded in unbridled hatred and anger. Once I gained the focus that a Fenrir learns to have, how to channel their rage properly and put it to good use, I saw the tribe that I owe my blood to, in a different light. I don't regret my decision, but I don't harbor ill will towards the Fianna. Simply the philodoxes that allowed the abomination to live.
I can tell you as a half moon currently in service to the Sept of the Green, that this Sept and its justice tends towards your lenient. However, I hear your words.
I didn't catch that, JC.
He said the justice here tends towards the lenient,
Mhm.
But that he hears what you're saying.
I can abide the judgment of a philodox. one way or the other. As long as it is not so egregiously sinful as to break our litany, I can abide by it. It does not mean that I have to like it.
Very true. Very true. All right, then. You still have to speak to the Alpha. Once you've done so, we will meet together as a pack and discuss. However, it was a pleasure to meet you, Hunter's Mane. With that, he'll stand and kind of extend his hand towards her.
She will stand, and when she goes to shake his hand, she doesn't grab him by the hand, but rather by the meat of his forearm.
Okay. And he'll return the shake in much the same fashion and smile a little bit as it's something he hasn't done in a long time. But it's obvious that once he gets used to it again, that it's something he's done many times before. And he'll... go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's a certain recognition that that when he grabs in a way that I would assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that he knows how the Get tend to do things like this and can meet it in kind.
He does. He does indeed. Yeah.
Then there's definitely a smile of recognition that comes across her face, and dare I say, admiration.
He'll smile and he'll kind of turn to Aiden and nod, and then he'll move into the next room, leaving them in that room.
Aiden will just nod, and look at her, and like lead her out, and kind of go, "That went well."
I like him.
He's a good man. Aiden says quite firmly.
She'll put her boots back on now that she's outside the cabin, and she'll sit down on the porch, sort of lacing them up.
He kind of leans against the wall, basically. So, you going to be ready for this big assault we're all doing?
As ready as I can be. She shrugs. Doesn't really make much difference how ready I am or not. I'll be there.
I suspect you will. Just keep your head down. You'll be fine.
She gives a laugh and looks up at him. I get keeping her head down.
He just smirks at her. Just stay alive.
If it's Fenrir's wish and the will of Gaia, there will be spirals at our feet, and many of them.
Guy's wishes for you to wish to come back, so be smart. Yeah, like be that smart Arun you were telling me about. And he'll wink.
So, did you hear the howl recently?
Ah, yeah, I heard it. I heard it.
She
Smirks.
she just has this devilish smirk on her face.
You know something about that I don't, He kind of raises an eyebrow.
I just would happen to notice that after a discussion with a certain Get, that she seemed to self-destruct.
She did, She did. I did notice that, all right. Quite the public display.
Isn't it? It's almost like now everybody gets to know exactly who she is.
And the fascinating thing is the supposed worst pack on the sept, basically, in terms of hatred, have remained silent. That's great.
I think everything that was in that howl was far more damning than anybody that I've met of your pack could ever say.
Oh, precisely, and that was the beauty of it. We didn't even have to say anything, and she already did it. Impressive work, Dallas. You'd make a good ragabash.
Well, Ratagar are as Ratagar are. Modiar is Modiar, but she'll tap the side of her head. It's not very hard to trip up somebody whose head is far too big for their shoulders.
Aye, not the quality of his nature, I can assure you. Shakes his head. But the thing you're going to have to contend with now is our pack.
She'll look over at Aiden. Another Fiona? Who's in that pack? Tell me.
There is Teresa, public enemy. She is an Arun, Foster, Glasswalker. There is Saoirse, Audacious Heart, Galliard, Fiona, and Kumba, Theurge, Cleath, Bonar, and Alana herself.
So you have the one that I saw at the training grounds beating a training dummy half to death because she didn't have the guts to come up to me and say something about it. And then you have the Foster and Arun who orders everyone around to pay chiminage when, as 10 Point put it, that was not the wording of the challenge.
Precisely. And Teresa Raya has a particular hatred of my tribe. Particular hatred. However, the young one, Saoirse, her and I grew up in the same set together, came to New York together. It's interesting on which side she fell on.
Would you say that she's estranged from you now?
We tried to be friends, but I don't know, packs and all that, but we've known each other since we were little. She's got fire in her, but since coming here, and he looks out at the Sept of the Green, softened her, I think.
Well, sometimes Gaia draws individuals apart. But I've noticed she's not so heartless that she wouldn't put someone else in someone's life to, or she would make sure that someone's there to help fill the void. And she gives a wink to Aiden as she stands up and finishes lacing her boots.
Aye, she chose the company of Alana and them and the people who hate our tribe over her actual tribe. She made her choice, I say quite firmly.
You know, I can respect, Aiden, the fact that you have conviction. As strong as any Modi I've ever known.
I'm a Fianna, Dallas. Conviction is what we're bred for. If we don't have conviction, then what's the point in fighting?
She's just going to give a really strong punch with a smile to Aiden's shoulder.
He grins, taking it in the stride. That's what most people forget about us. We're passionate, It's our both greatest strength and also our greatest weakness.
She kind of looks down and shakes her head at that. Yeah, that's true. And I now have one parent less because of that passion.
Just nods.
The odd thing is I don't hate her nearly as much as I hate it. There's a part of me that knows I should hate her just as much.
What about the father? Do you not hate him?
I suppose I would hate him if I gave him any mind. He wasn't my father.
Just nods.
They both got what was coming to them, I guess, in the end.
die. Doesn't make it any easier. After all, parents are parents and family. But it was what was right. Because if we allow everything, they like to rub in our faces, Osfiana, that we breed the most medicine. They like to rub that in. But it's the fact we take responsibility. We treat them the way they should be treated. They don't acknowledge that bit. They never do. They don't like to acknowledge it. We take responsibility for our sins. So what happened to your mother was tragic because we lost a good guru. But it needed to be done. He says quite firmly.
Oh, I totally agree. Even the Get don't take lightly Carrick's. And I can see where a mule like 10 Point has her place. That exercise we went through the other day proved that she does have the conviction to do what she says she wishes to do. She just doesn't have the fortitude yet to do it.
His smile, a wicked smile. No, she doesn't yet. But she will. She'll learn.
And some people think that what we have done to her, what you've done to her, what the nation's done to her, they consider that cruel, and yet everything that has been done to her has helped her one step further to get where she needs to go.
The frightening thing that they don't like to acknowledge about 10 Point and what I'm doing with her. Metis are supposed to die for Gaia in the service of protection for proper guru. How can a Metis learn how to die properly if it's not trained to die? They don't acknowledge that bit because they don't like to admit it, that they will willingly put 10 Point in the front line and have her filled with claws or whatever. And then we'll go home and shout and scream about how we're horrible. And the blatant fact is, I'm preparing her for what the reality is. And that's my duty as a good Ragabash, as a good Fianna, and as a good guru.
She puts a hand on Aiden's shoulders. When the day comes and she fulfills her purpose upright, on her feet, and in service the way that she needs to, I could sing a song about that.
Nod. She is a good Omega. She knows her place. And he'll just nod.
Perhaps today she meets her fate, perhaps not.
We could say the same for all of us, Dallas. But hey, it's all in part of the job.
I plan to live forever, didn't I tell you?
He shakes his head. Maybe, you know. But I always have a philosophy, nation before everything else. Seems to work.
It does. I'll be out there at your side today.
You just nod. We'll expect nothing less.
Anyway, she'll take a few steps off of the porch. I have a bit of limbering up to do. Good jogging, stretching, and visiting the shrine to Fenrir before I go. I'll see you when we're ready to leave.
I've already made mine to Stag anyway. He'll smile. Now I just got to paint the LWoD on myself. He'll wink at her, you know, as he's walking off.
And she just kind of smirks at that, nods and turns and walks away as she goes to do exactly what she says she's going to do.
Yeah, same with him.
And I think there we can end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching.